Good. Okay. A warm welcome at the Sabarmati Ashram, and I'm just here to introduce the two speakers who will be hosting you, so to say. So we have Atul Pandya, who is the director of the Sabarmati Ashram. Atul is a very old friend. He used to work with the Center for Environment for a long time, and Center for Environment does amazing work on educating everybody, all the stakeholders, on the environmental issues in the country. And they largely work with children a lot, with teachers, with all stakeholders on environmental education. So it's called the CEE, the Center for Environmental Education. And Atul used to work there. Now he's at this ashram. His family has been involved in rural development for a long time. His father is one of the finest teachers of agriculture we know of in this state. And so he brings with him a rich experience of the developmental world as well as the Gandhian world. So he knows that. So Atul is there. So he'll be our host for the day. And right now we had earlier scheduled a talk with Mr. Karthikeya Sarabhai earlier, but now he has to leave. So we have to start with his talk. And Karthikeya, I have sent information on him, but Karthikeya is actually also from the Center for Environment Education. He actually founded this organization. He's a Padma Shri, so he's won one of the highest civilian honors there is in this country for his work on environmental education. And he's a man who wears many hats. So he runs industries, he works on environmental education, when he has spare time, writes wonderful poetry, and so he is a man of many talents, and he'll be talking to us today. He'll be the key speaker just now. He's also the trustee of the on this Sabarmati Ashram, so he's a trustee there. He will be speaking to us about Gandhi in a contemporary sense, that Gandhian thoughts. How do they relate to current issues in our country, to current environmental issues in our country, to the current way in which the country is being run or not run. So he deals with he'll be talking about that. So I'll just ask Karthikeya to come here and speak to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Apurva, and welcome to all of you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mix these two issues of the ashram, sustainability, and what we do in the environment, because they are in fact very closely linked. And for many of us, many people around the world, Gandhi represented an inspiration at many levels, but including on contemporary issues of sustainability. Let me first again welcome you to the ashram. This is where, when Gandhiji came back from South Africa, this was in 1915, when he decided, he went from India to study in England, and then he got his first break as a lawyer in South Africa. And in South Africa he did his first ashram, which is the community. We did 2 ashrams there. And that's where some of the initial experimentation started, where his motivation started. We wanted to come back to India. And at first, he was still deciding where it would be that he would start his work. There is a panel here which talks about how he happens to select Ahmedabad. And there are many reasons for this. One was, of course, the language itself. Gandhiji strongly believed that the mother tongue was the way to communicate, and Gujarati, which is the language of this region, was very much his language, and he felt he could really communicate. He also looked at the fact that there was a very rich tradition of craft in this area, and textile craft and others, and he saw that also as a way of becoming independent and self-sufficient in what he do. When he comes here, he is still not a fully into khadi or the spinning wheel. And my colleagues here, Amrit Bhai, people will answer more questions if you want to know exactly what it is. But he is at that time still looking for that instrument. He's looking for the symbol which will take him forward. He also saw the fact that Ahmedabad had a tradition of the Mahajan, because some of the more wealthy communities or families in this place would support good causes. And he felt that he will need funds if he wants to do what he does. And so the funding was another reason to come to that. And he moves to Ahmedabad in 1915, not to this place, but further south on the same road, there is another smaller ashram called Kocharam. And that was seen as a temporary place. It was an existing building. And he said that is where I would at least start work. And they start work there. But he is then looking at a possible place to come to. Where would he start? We must realize at that time that the inner city of Ahmedabad was a walled city which is on the other side of the river. This place here would be considered outside the city at that time. So we were still in going out of the city but near Ahmedabad. And there are several reasons he selects this place. One of the popular stories of that is someone asked him that there is a jail at the one side and there is a cremation ground on the other. So he said, oh good, what better place for a sannyasi, what better place for a satyagrahi, someone who is fighting, either you go to jail or you might have to die for it, die for the cause. So this seems to be a perfect sort of place. This area of the ashram extends to both sides of that road which you came on. And it's a much larger ashram. There is a model of the ashram as it was in 1930, I think, when he left the ashram, which is just behind us here. And after this, you can just go and see what that ashram would be like, what it was. And he stays all the way from 1915 in Ahmedabad, 1917 when he comes here. In June of 1917 he moves here. So we've just completed 100 years since that event. And then he stays until 1930. Now that 1930 becomes significant because he was again, Gandhi was very good at picking on points which very simply told everyone how something was unfair or how something needed to be changed. And one of the things which he looks upon is the fact that the British had imposed a tax on salt. Now, as such, it is no big deal. It's not compared to everything else they did. Salt would seem like a minor thing. But he understood the value of that. And he said that I am going to go and break the law. I am going to go to the ocean and myself go and break the law and take salt. And you do what you will like. Now, for the mighty British Empire to say that we are catching hold of all these Indians for what? For picking salt from the ocean. It made the other person look ridiculous. Although it is a very simple thing. And he excelled at picking on something. So he leaves on the 12th of March 1930. He leaves from this place, from the ashram, and walks. And he doesn't take a very straight route. If you see, there is a map here of the route he takes. He does not want to go through the princely states. He wants to go through the British controlled area, and he takes his time. I think it was 24 days. 24 days to reach there. So the British had this opportunity. You're tempting them. You're saying, okay, arrest me if you can. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 24, and then he breaks that law. And I think this was the power of communication, but he also takes the decision that he will not come back to Ahmedabad and the ashram till we get independence. So when he goes in 1930, independence, as you know, came to India in 47, August of 47. Gandhi was not in Ahmedabad, he was outside obviously. And then all these riots took place. It was a very difficult period for India, very disturbing period for Gandhi himself, because Gandhi didn't see that as his independence. To him, independence meant a united India. It meant an India which did not have communal strife. It meant an India where we saw core values which sustained civilization here for 5,000 years, and the tolerance India had, he saw that as the core value. and not seeing that, we were very disappointed. But in 48, on the 30th of January, he is assassinated in Delhi and therefore could never come back. So where you are now is this very formative period of Gandhi's work in India, which is starting from 1917, 15 when he came, but 17 to 1930. And that is the period which you're seeing here. This building itself is a very important building. Charles Correa, who was one of our leading architects, he was asked to build this museum here, and he wanted to do something which would be respectful to the ashram, in the spirit of the ashram, and yet a very modern building. And he's built this. It's open on site. I think it was 54 or 53 that we inaugurated this place. What you have here, which you will see, is a gallery which is devoted to Gandhi's period in Ahmedabad. There is another gallery which quickly runs through Gandhi's life. There is a third one which is a picture gallery. So there are 3 galleries here and outdoor exhibits here. You have the Magan Nivas behind us here, where you will see the experiment, and I'm coming to that, where he did the hand-spun experiment, and then most importantly, the place where he lived. And it is somehow the vibrations you have here of being actually in the place where he was that inspires so many people, which is why you see the number of visitors here on a working day or any other day of the year. We have people continuously coming here. Now, Gandhi's work here included many things. Some of that also got connected with our family, which is why I also have a connection. That when he lived at the Kochara Ashram, India at that time had the problem of untouchability. I would say to some extent it still has. But at that time, there was a strong sense of a caste system which would prevent some communities from coming in, using water. You would not even touch them. They were called untouchables in that sense. And it was a horrible practice of something. Gandhi was revolted by that. And he said, I do want one of the couples, Duda and Dani, to come and stay in the ashram. Now it seems like a perfectly normal thing today, so what? One couple coming in. But at that time, it seemed like something which people really objected to. His own wife, Kasturba, she herself says to Gandhi that you need to take such a outlandish step which will hurt everyone. And he says yes. In fact, I think he even told her that if she objected to it, she could leave the ashram and go and live elsewhere if she liked, but he will have this couple stay here. So he gets Duda and Dani to come and stay here, stay at the ashram. And looking at that time society, we're talking about 1915, 1916, the funding which Gandhi needed for this running this thing completely dries up. He does not know how he'll do it. His accountant at one stage goes to Gandhi and says, sir, we only have maybe 2 or 3 days funding left, and how will we run the ashram? And Gandhi had strong faith. I mean, he said, look, something had happened, don't worry about it. And then as he writes in his autobiography, one of the mill owners drives up there and asks Gandhi, I believe you are having a problem. How much do you need for the whole year? And Gandhi says what his whole year's budget was. And next day he comes and gives it to him. And the ashram gets going again. So you saw how the support networks also came and how people broke these barriers. There was an interesting time here when there was a plague. Again, at that same time, there was a plague in Ahmedabad. And one of the reasons, Amrit Bhai says that he would have moved anywhere, but maybe the plague made him move a little faster, is that he wanted to leave that old ashram and come here. But during the plague, the mill workers were given a plague allowance. Along with their salaries, they were given a little allowance. And that allowance, now that the plague had gone, the mill owner said, we will withdraw it. We are not going to give you a plague allowance. The mill workers said, sorry, we have got used to this. We need that money, we have got used to it. Now this is a problem which goes on even today. You can read every other day in the paper how an allowance is given, how you cannot withdraw it, It's a current labor problem. But there was a strike. Now, this is where my family somehow comes in. My grandfather was the head of the Mill Owners Association, and his sister had just studied at the London School of Economics, come back and started working with the labor union. She had formed the labor union here and started, so every day they would clash on the streets. There was a strike. One of the first strikes in Ahmedabad. There was a major strike. They were protesting against getting this money. The mill owners were saying we cannot give. And Gandhi finally, as an in-between mediator, comes in. He goes on a short hunger strike, but at that stage finds a solution of creating a dialogue. And that dialogue, which formed something called the Textile Labour Association, the Madhu Mahajan Sons, continued all the way, almost for a century. It continued as a way of labour and management finding a position. So Gandhi's contributions during this period were quite remarkable in that. Now what I was going to talk about, which is the other hat, if you like, was on some of the issues of sustainability. And Gandhi was very, very important to him was what type of lifestyles we use which makes us sustainable. What is lifestyle sustainable? There's a conversation he has in 1928 with one of India's industrialists, and he says that if we were to imitate and follow the pattern of England of how we consume, we will strip the earth bare like locusts landing on it. You know, when locusts land on a field, they completely make it barren. And this consumption level is a major issue today when we talk about issues of whether it's climate change or environment or anything else. I don't know whether you've heard of something called the footprint. The footprint, some of you might have heard about it, the footprint is a measure in hectares of how much land we need to live our lifestyle. Now, this is a calculation done by a Swiss scientist. Very complex calculation. You can calculate your own footprints. But that footprint calculation for an average person in North America, it works out to about 8 hectares. An average North American requires 8 hectares of land on the planet to be able to sustain the way they live. An average person in Europe requires only 5. So already there is a difference between a developed country and a developing country. In India, China and Asia, we require about 2 or less than 2. The globe as a whole can only support about 2 or 2.5. So today, we are consuming something of the order of 1.5 planets is what we require every year. That's the level of pressure which we are putting. So the whole question of what is correct consumption, what is it that we can use, is a very major part of the current debate, whether it's a climate change debate or something else. You might know that the issue of lifestyle is very, very sensitive. When the conference at Rio happened in '92, senior President Bush from America said, I will come to the conference only if you all agree that the American lifestyle is not up for negotiation. I do not want you to discuss lifestyles. Gandhi was all about lifestyles. So here you have someone who says, look, I will live the way I live, I will do technology, I will fund this, I will pass these laws, you will see that pollution doesn't happen, but don't connect it to lifestyle. It was much later now that in Paris, at the insistence of India, the word lifestyle for the first time has got into the Paris Agreement in the preamble. It for the first time says that lifestyles are important and are determined on what the effect on climate change is. Now, you will say, what is this big deal we are doing about lifestyle? We are doing the lifestyle deal because ultimately, production and consumption and all the rest of it, energy, you can't blame the energy company if you consume so much electricity. Ultimately, it's for you that someone is producing. So it's very easy to go and blame someone else and not your lifestyle. And I think that emphasis on lifestyle was rather critical to Gandhi. And one of the statements which is often ascribed to Gandhi, which is the earth provides enough to satisfy every man's need, but not for anyone's greed. The need and the greed distinction is something which Gandhi made very much in his life. There are many other quotes of his which will talk about what is it that you need. Do you evaluate when you buy something that is it something which you really need or not? And the need and the greed. And again, it is not saying that there is the same thing. My need is not the same as your need. But are you even at your own conscience? Are you making that line between need and greed? And I think this is a very important part of what Gandhi did. Now another part of the whole sustainability challenge is the fact that the population of the planet and the population of all the developing countries are what they are. As you perhaps might know, that the world reached its first million all the way from the beginning of Homo sapiens to 1800. In the year 1800, the first million people we got. It took thousands of years. The next million was by 1927. It took 124 years for the second million to come. By 1959, in only 32 years, we had the third million. 74, in only 15 years, we had the fourth million in the world. Another 13 years, by 87, we had the fifth million. Another 12 years, in 1999, we had the sixth billion. In 2011, another 12 years, we had the seventh billion. And by 2024, in another 13 years, it is estimated we have the 8th billion. Now you can imagine that every 12 years now, we are adding the entire population of India to the planet. We are adding in every 12 years what used to take thousands of years to happen. So that pressure is enormous. I was giving a talk in Australia, in Melbourne. There was a day they were doing the census, and I said, "Do you realize that every 14 months we add the population of Australia to India?" Now, when you have that type of population pressure, you have this sole question of how do we now? Is it a hopeless case? You have population increasing, and on the other hand, your footprint or your consumption is increasing, and the multiplication of the two is leading to a huge crisis. Now, it is not for the reason that you find that all societies where education reaches a certain peak, especially women's education, population automatically starts coming down. If you look at many of your own families, just go up 4 generations or 3 generations and ask yourself how many children did my great-grandfather have or great-grandmother really have. And you will find that it will easily be 5 to 8 children compared to what it is today. Education is the single most important factor in the whole population thing, but the world today cannot give education, and Gandhi's emphasis on education and education in the mother tongue was again critical to his way of doing. Also to his life was cleanliness, and today India is in a major drive to talk about cleanliness and others, and what we have here is a panel which connects some of Gandhi's ideals with current government of India programs. How do we do it? Have India forgotten Gandhi? Or are we carrying on that? There is, as you know, perhaps a major drive just now, world over, on plastic waste. Unless those bottles go into the recycling, it will be a major crisis, which it is. So how do we ensure that? And you ensure it by having segregated waste. We have done it in India is now banning single-use plastic in many things. Many other issues are to be handled. So the action of doing something, and in our education program, let's see, while we are talking about the footprint in Andhra, in the south, young girls came together and put their hand and said, "This is our handprint." And we said, "What do you mean by the handprint?" And they said, "Handprint means what we can do. Let us not just talk about how we put pressure on the planet. Let us also look at what we can actually do, and that is the handprint. And do through our own action and others." And that again, it's gone world over. In fact, there are schools in Canada, there are schools in Japan, there are schools in Europe, in the Middle East, in many other places where now the handprint is being used. Symbol started in a small school in India, going all over the place. But the handprint idea and the lifestyle idea are absolutely connected with Gandhi. Because Gandhi's statement of be the change, do the change yourself before you can preach to others. And it is such an important thing. So what you will see when you go around today are a few of the examples of what Gandhi did, how he was in search of new methods, new models. The charkha, which is the hand spun, he came here without knowing it. He was looking for an instrument to do it. He found that the charkha would be an ideal way of decentralized production. You people, some of you are going to get an opportunity for the next hour to actually try it yourselves to see if you can use the charkha and what it means. But the value of it is not just production. The value of it is decentralization, independence, being able to work from home, being able to work indigenously. So the multiple values which he brings to a thing is what it's all about. I hope you have a very good afternoon here. You go to see things, please see things. There are lots of things, more things that you can see when anyone visits. But just go and see it, read some panels. There are colleagues here who will answer questions. If you have any general questions now, we can do it. Otherwise, we will start taking you on a tour. Thank you. Any general questions you have either about the ashram or about anything? Yes, please.
What do you mean by the word Sabarmati Ashram?
What do we mean by the word Sabarmati Ashram? The word Sabarmati is the name of the river that flows through Ahmedabad, which is the Sabar river, Sabarmati, and that flows through the Ahmedabad. So it is the ashram on the Sabarmati. Ashram is a word used for a community of people who decide to live in a community together. It's like the word kibbutz, for instance, is a certain type of community. A ashram community lives with a certain set of rules. And when you go to the Hriday Kunj where Gandhi stayed, there is a panel there which tells you what the rules were. So for instance, Gandhi believes strongly that you would clean your own space. You don't hire cleaners to do it. Or that you would live in a certain simple way. So those are the rules made by a community. So the ashram is a way of living in a community spirit, usually having a community kitchen and having certain things. There were 2 prayers, early morning prayer and the evening prayer. So it is like a community. So Sabarmati Ashram is the commune on the Sabarmati river. Any other questions, comments?
I just wanted to find out, are there any such communities going on right now, like what he propounded? And if we don't have them, why don't we?
The concept of an ashram is still very much alive in India. There are many places where there are ashrams for different purposes, not necessarily the sort of social transformation, but also the transformation. Many of the religious groups have communities like that and have ashrams.
That's the thing. Why are we so active on the religious front, but not so active on the social?
Well, in India, the line was always very blurred because, as you know, at least Hindu thought does not have the concept of a church. So there is not a church or a book which was there. Gandhi himself, if you know here, had a philosophy of doing a prarthana which is called the Sarva Dharma Prarthana. Sarva means all, Dharma is religion. So the prayer which we do here is all religion prayer. There would be Hindu, there would be Islamic, there would be Zoroastrian, there would be Buddhist, there would be Christian. Number of prayers are all done here in the morning. So Gandhi brought from all religions into his thing. So he saw religion as spirituality, and he saw religion as in a spiritual sense rather than in a dogmatic sense. He was very much against religion as dogma, but religion as ideas and spirituality. Caring, for instance, came very much out of the Christian faith. His work with lepers, for instance, was very much out of a different tradition. The ashrams which are functional are usually focused on an individual, but many of them continue after that. And there are good communities. There are some very good ashrams. Urban ashrams are less. You know, it's very difficult to sustain a semi-independent community within an urban area which is glaring at you, but usually they are in semi-urban or rural areas. But there are ashrams. This place itself is a museum of an ashram, but it's not the ashram itself in that sense. Go to something Magan Nivas where Gandhi's, the various types of spinning mills are there. You must realize that Gandhi was always also looking at new technology. And in this case, in the 1920s, he announces a prize of 100,000 rupees, which was an enormous amount at that time, to come up with the best model of the charkha. And all that, so many models you will see. So sometimes you don't necessarily associate Gandhi with technology, but he was very much in search of the right technology, also appropriate technology, and which is why institutions like the Schumacher and others also take inspiration from him. So Atul, this is